Announcement night. This is part 2 of a series that we're talking about with regards to disfellowshipping with Jehovah's Witnesses, or the practice of disfellowshipping. The announcement night. I think for those of us that have been disfellowshipped, or even if you're just been a present Jehovah's Witness or you've been a past Jehovah's Witness, you know what this announcement night means. And that is, for those that are not in the know, the announcement night is when they announce you as disfellowshipped. So, most of us, if we're trying to, depending on how you're built emotionally, right? Some people hold their head up high and they're there for the meeting that you're announced. It is, again, this is one of the PTSD signs, or this is just the beginning of the triggers for most people that that people are beginning to talk about. And I'm trying to remain open with this because being disfellowship hurts. There is no sugarcoating that at all. Those that are watching the video, there's ways, like I said, that I'm going to talk about towards the end of the series, where you can safeguard yourself from this, or prepare yourself from. Not to say that we're trying to do something bad and trying to get out of it, right? But again, you have to take real consideration of the religion and how that affects you if you choose to leave or you mess up, right? So some of us have gone to the meetings that they have announced the disfellowshipping of yourself. It is very painful because, especially if you're, typical devout witness, right? You go to the meetings, you conversate. After the meetings, you conversate. And, I think all of us have been at meetings where, especially younger days, when you're with your friends, teenage friends, at the meeting, you guys talk for like a half an hour before you leave. If your parents are not pushy, you talk. So when you go to the meeting and you sit there and your name is announced, everybody looks around. Everybody tries not to look at you, but it's an immediate switch off where I just talked to you in the beginning of the meeting, most maybe, and now an hour and a half later, I can't talk to you until you are announced as reinstated. So that's a lot. So that's why some people will go, some people will not go to the meeting because they don't want that stigma, that experience of being shunned. That's basically what it is, right? You get announced. I'm not making excuses of being disfellowshipped in the practice, right? We're going to talk about that too. But I'm just giving the facts right now. The facts are, you've been deemed as being disfellowshipped. The announcement night is the night that they announce. I think at the time, probably sure it's the same thing. They probably announce on Thursdays. I don't know, because of COVID now, or when COVID was happening, I don't know what they did at that time. But that is the announcement night. And then, the shame that you feel of being disfellowshipped, that is the next feeling that usually happens. And we can talk about it. Obviously, when you get disfellowshipped, there's no surprise that you're not going to get announced, right? So there's no fear of that. You already know that you're going to get disfellowshipped. They tell you you're going to get disfellowshipped. And the hard part comes next. There's a couple of hard parts. The immediate is the shame, the guilt, most likely, that you feel. That's normal, right? Because now you've been cut off. So in my particular case, as a young person growing up in the, I'm going to outdate myself here, but a young person growing up in the 90s, 2000s, early 2000s, that's when cell phones had just came out. Pagers obviously came out first, but cell phones came out, and being 19, 20, 22, I kind of I don't want to say wasted my life by having an early child, but being wrapped up in a situation that I should not have been wrapped up in, Let's put it out there. Um, I lost a lot of my childhood because, I had to raise a kid. I manned up. I did what I had to do, and helped raise a child. Yes, um, but you know, when I moved away, when I got married, I left a lot of my friends, and because I was basically forced into being this fellowship without, oops, without preparing. Sorry, without preparing. It caused a shock to the system where because I was this fellowship, I can't just pick up the phone and call anybody anymore. I can't text my friends and say, "Hey, what you doing?" I had to go back to living with my parents and being alone, basically, and that was hard to deal with. So again, the first part is the shock of getting this fellowship because they tell you, you're talking to a group of men, and even if you're a female, you're still talking to a group of men. There is no, well, we have to have a female involved. It's always men, and they make a decision, and you have to basically deal with the aftermath because there is no support system besides, hey, you have to keep going to the meetings, every meeting. You can't comment anymore. You can't go in field service, which I know a lot of people didn't really didn't really matter. But you can't comment. You can't go out in field service. You can't associate with your Jehovah's Witness friends or anybody that's a baptized person. You're not supposed to talk to. Now, whether or not all your friends did not or did uphold that, that is up to your individual friends. Most of my friends did not talk to me, so I was by myself and my mother. Now I live with my grandmother, right? So the way that they explain being disfellowship for those that don't know is you keep your communication to a minimum. Like obviously, you come in the house, say hi, or some people don't even do that at all. You have conversation that has to be had, right? So, hey, I'm home, I'm leaving, I'm going here, I'm going there, um, and they're not supposed to talk to you about anything spiritual, right? I think that was always the issue when it came to people being disfellowshipped is that you lose your whole support system. So you're supposed to be on your own, and they want you to come back on your own. And I think a lot of this is what kills people, literally, right? There's been a lot of suicides because people were not prepared to be disfellowshipped. And, I've been thinking about this a lot for the channel for years, watching other YouTube channels, and it's helping a lot because, I'm married. My wife was not or is not Jehovah's Witness or wasn't. So it's hard for her to understand, which is fine. But people that do understand, people that are in the situation now, a lot of people, when I was searching, I didn't know what to do. Back when I was disfellowship, the internet wasn't as robust as it is now. And the times that you were told not to associate, it's, oh, hey, that person is an apostate. Oh, you can't talk to them. If somebody was to say, hey, Jehovah's Witness religion is not real, they would be labeled as an apostate. And that's honestly why I took this long to make these videos, because I'm sure as if these videos start to get out and my friends from ages ago start to watch these videos or they come upon them, it's, oh, Chaz is going to be labeled an apostate now. And if I'm being brutally honest, that is pretty excruciatingly painful because of how we were taught. We were taught to not have any association with anybody apostate. You couldn't read anything. And so now that YouTube has been brought to the forefront, the internet has been brought to the forefront, it's where people can't hide anymore. People can easily just look up, type in, is Jehovah's Witness religion real? You can see what comes up. And you can see it about any religion, right? So it's not just picking on the Jehovah's Witnesses at all, right? Because I do have positive things of my experience, right? As I said in my first video I made, this isn't a bashing, right? This is my personal experience. Your experience may be different, but that's how I feel about that. some of the other parts, like I said, I'm gonna conclude here with this. The next part is going to be about the comeback slash return, and then part four will be how do you survive this, right? Again, these are my personal experiences. Your experiences may be different, but I'm just trying to help, right? Because when I was disfellowshipped, I didn't know where to turn to, and I couldn't look up anything. Any documents had to be physical, in the most for the most part in the beginning, right? So hopefully you got some uh, of what I said and understand. Like I said, the next part three of the series will be coming soon. All right.